From blueprints to booming businesses, from groundbreaking to grand openings, this is Beyond the Blueprint. Join host Brad Howard as he takes you behind the scenes of growth and development in Mooresville, Lake Norman, and beyond. We're talking with the decision makers, the planners, the visionaries shaping our communities, giving exclusive insight into what happens before, during, and after projects that define our region. The future is being built right now. Let's go beyond the blueprint.
Good Friday afternoon and happy Halloween. Thank you to those tuning in on the radio at 105.9 FM, 100.7 FM, 1400 AM, on social media, on WSICnews.com, and on demand with the WSIC News app. From blueprints to booming businesses, this is Beyond the Blueprint, and I'm your host, Brad Howard. And today we will be discussing Christian education now in the Lake Norman area. And legacy, leadership, and launch. What is the next chapter for Mount Morin and Ambassador Christian? We're joined today by Robert Letto, pastor at Trinity Baptist, Rick Calloway, head of school for Trinity Christian Academy, Melissa Gibbs, and Dr. Zach Gautier. Did I do that right? Head of school for Ambassador. I got you right.
You got it. Yes, sir.
I got you. All right. Well, welcome to the show, and thank you all for joining today. Let's just jump into it. Why does Christian education matter, especially today?
Yeah, for sure. So I thank you for letting us be here. And I do think it's something that's so pivotal for us to be able to talk about in the space of the movement that has been made in socially where our kids are today, the role that Christian education plays to be able to support the work of God-fearing homes is essential to our nation, and it's essential to our communities. And so I think post-COVID, a lot of families just increased levels of frustration, challenge, difficulty in the education of their kids and looking for options. And so to be able to have Christian education options that come alongside families is just a gift, and I think really essential for where we are as a society.
Robert?
Yeah, yes, sir. Well, having two little boys myself, and they went to the public school route. And then conversely, now at a Christian school in Statesville, having to make that hike from Mooresville, which can be challenging depending on how 77's running. I've seen it just night and day in their life. So personally, it hits home for me. They would come home singing songs like "I'm Just a Lost Cause," "Don't Waste Your Time on Me," and it would just break your little daddy heart. And now my little buddy bears come home singing sweet hymns. And their homework is Bible verses. And just as a pastor, that I know that word will not return void. And the impact that an educator makes on a child will last a lifetime. But if you put a Christian, a biblical worldview attached to it, it's an eternal lifetime. And that to me makes all the difference.
Absolutely.
Well, our culture has presented so many challenges for young people today. And when you look at the research, only about 2% of the youngest generations have a biblical worldview. 2%.
Wow.
From Barta's research. And, and also his research indicates to us too that what most children believe, not all, but what most children believe by the age of 13, they will die believing. And so we have an opportunity with Christian education for our children to, as a parent, we have an opportunity to disciple them by design or by default. With Christian education, we have the ability by design to disciple them, but not just disciple, but also be able to prepare them for the marketplace of ideas and to be the best at what they do as a believer, but also whether God chooses to call them to be a business leader, lawyer, doctor, plumber, whatever it is, to be the best. And that's the opportunity this gives us to be able to reach these kids at the youngest age with the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Let me just add to say that, when you say, why does Christian education matter? It's a mission field. Mm. And if you think about the number of kids who are churched, which is small, that impact is maybe an hour a week, maybe 2 if they go to youth groups. A Christian school has a child 40 hours a week. So the potential for impact is tremendous. And this generation, particularly teenagers, which is our emphasis at Ambassador as a high school, this is the most depressed, anxious, lonely, medicated generation on record, suicidal. I mean, you could just add a lot of things into that. And so it is a generation of hopelessness and lostness, and school is an avenue to reach them.
I like that. And so we'll use that as a segue. So how did we get here? How did you get here? So we'll talk about the background. How did Ambassador come together? And then we'll talk about Trinity, because you guys have already been established now for how long?
We're in our second year.
Your second year.
Mm-hmm.
So how did everything happen? And, you guys take notes because you're growing up as well. So
it's a different why for, there's a group of us that came together to start this. Everybody has their own why. Mine was having gone back to school to be a high school counselor. And my thought was that I would go into the public schools where my children had finished. And I started in 2018. I finished in 2021. In the interim was 2020 when kind of the wheels came off and parents were yelling at school board meetings. And there were just some real challenges presenting themselves in the public school system. And I realized I wasn't going to be a good fit. And they probably weren't going to be that interested in me. And so I started to look around and go, well, gosh, where is a thriving Christian high school? One that's, really growing and offering a wide variety of experiences for students. And while there are some in Charlotte, there's not a plethora up here. And so I just thought, if I can't find a place that I'm really excited about working, how much harder is it for a parent to find a place that they can send their child? And so the hope was to create something that addressed some of the frustrations that we felt when we sent our children to Christian education and then chose public for high school. A lot of it is because people look for a broader high school experience than what smaller Christian schools can offer. And so the thought was, what if we created something on the scale that could offer the amenities and experiences and extracurriculars of a bigger public school while maintaining the faith-based, values-driven culture of the small Christian school? And so that is the hope at Ambassador, is to create a place where parents don't have to choose one or the other.
Interesting.
Love that. Yeah. And I would just say, for me, the role, for the past 15 years, I was in Colorado at a school that modeled much of what Ambassador's founders were looking to be able to build. I was at Valor Christian, which was standalone Christian high school that was 1,200 students and had those comprehensive programs that were looking to build. And then when, kind of just through a number of ways that God kind of made introduction and kind of made me aware of Ambassador and what was coming here, just felt the Lord calling to say, man, let's get involved. Let's get to build something and to get to participate from the very beginning and to be able to see it come into fruition. I think at the core of it, though, I still see myself as a teacher. I loved the time of being a classroom teacher, but day in and day out, it's when you're with kids and seeing kids and the growth that happens, especially at the high school level. I say 14 to 18, the amount of transition that happens in that space, and when they become young adults and to see them take ownership of their faith. And so it's just been a joy to get to do it. And so, in this year too, at Ambassador, we're 260 students this year, and so excited for that. The long-term vision is to grow to be 800 to 1,000, depending on what the Lord provides, and just things that can come in future years, but just an unbelievable gift to get to build that together.
That sounds good. And we're going to segue into Mount Morven, but we're going to take a quick break, and we will come right back and talk about Trinity Christian Academy at the former Mount Morven School and how they came together. We'll be right back. And we're back on Beyond the Blueprint. This is Brad Howard, and we are joined by the team from Trinity Christian Academy and Ambassador Christian. We've talked about Ambassador, how they came together, and we're transitioning now into Trinity Christian. So new Christian school coming to Mooresville, North Carolina, Southern Iredell County. Robert, I'll let you pick that up. How'd you guys get together?
Yeah, yes, sir. So a little bit of context might help the listeners just to understand the situation our church find themselves in. our church is very unique in the sense that our lead pastor, Mark Harris, is serving in Congress right now, and we're thankful for that. But as a result of that, sometimes, things that he can't necessarily put on his plate will slide off onto others. And I'm a product of that as the associate pastor there. That kind of makes sense as to how some of the pieces of this puzzle come together. But I know our church Pastor Mark was leading us through a building campaign. We wanted to expand. We wanted to look at building a Christian school at 221 Irvin Road, which is where our church currently is located. And we were just hitting a tremendous amount of red tape and being landlocked. And quite frankly, the sticker price of building something from scratch that we wanted was just we felt like it just wasn't going to be a part of God's will. So humbly praying through that and trying to pivot off of that. Our church has always had a preschool, but we wanted to do more than just that age group. We wanted to take it K through 12 one day, Lord willing. And I never will forget one day at church, Pastor Mark came up to me and said, "Robert, I need you to do me a favor. I'm going to be in Washington this week and I need you to make a visit." And I just said, "Yes, sir." And didn't know who it was, never heard of the name, quite frankly. One of our members, it was their neighbor actually that was in the hospital, which ended up being your father, Brad. Yeah. And went there just like any other church visit with zero expectations, went in just trying to share the love of Jesus, show some concern for the individual in the hospital and love on him a little bit, exchanging pleasantries. "How are you doing? I'm so sorry you're here. We're going to pray for you." Things of that nature. But really, really quickly, it seemed like that conversation just, the individual who was Rick, your father, took the conversation towards Christian education. And I was kind of taken back by that. I mean, you're in the hospital, you got all this going on and but at the same time, he would say, I'm looking to start a Christian school. And I was like, "That's wonderful. So are we." But he really saw that he was going over my head and he said, "No, I don't think you understand. I have a Christian school. I'm just looking for something to do with it, someone to sort of help spearhead this." And I just thought, oh my goodness, this is God. This is just, there's no other way to explain it. This is not coincidence. This is providence. And that conversation kind of going back to the church, quite frankly, a little bit nervous. I couldn't get a hold of Pastor Mark for a day or two, but just taking it to a couple key leaders, and God just blessed it. It really flourished. And as soon as Pastor Mark heard about it, we were on one accord. Our church really was bought in a way I've never seen before. And I've just seen God's handprints all over, his fingerprints all over that. But looking to start up a Christian school, one of the most important pieces of that puzzle is the headmaster. And Pastor Mark was close to another church in Indian Trail, Mike Whitson in Metrolina, one of the most successful Christian schools in North Carolina. And as much as it pains me to say this, I'm a University of Tennessee fan. We went and got like the Bear Bryant, we went and got the Nick Saban of headmasters. No offense. I'm sure you're great too. And by the grace of God, he said yes, and I'm going to pass it to him.
Well, I had served at Metrolina for 28 years.
Wow.
And had seen it grow from 150 to about 1,500 when I transitioned in May. And I really, really thought that God had plans for me to semi-retire and just more consult. And 5 minutes before graduation, Congressman Mark Harris was in the audience, and I'm getting ready to walk into the auditorium, and he says, "Hey, somebody's going to call you about some information we need some help with a Christian school." And so from that, we got into it, and God just moved on my heart because I'm passionate about Christian education. I want to see the difference in the lives of kids. I saw it for 28 years. I saw many kids come to Christ, many families come to Christ. I saw kids transition and adopt a biblical worldview and make a difference. And so God's just thrown things in place at Trinity that I never imagined would happen, and people coming the way. And as I learned the story of the building, Brad, it was amazing to me how God had moved on the heart of your dad and how all this transitioned. So at that point stage, I felt like if I told God no, I was going to be disobedient.
And the way everything came together, there are no coincidences. You can't explain the way everything happened. Mm-hmm. So if you don't believe, you will, if you know the story. So so taking the transition now, so you guys are together. You're opening your facilities. You have a open house coming. So do you want to talk about that?
I might actually defer to our headmaster if that's okay. He knows this inside and out.
Oh, I think he knows more than he's letting on. But we have an open house at Trinity Baptist Church, November 6th at 7:00. And our whole idea there, these are really, we're not, the building is underway. It's almost prepared. We'll be able to open it up for tours in January. But Thursday night is the beginning of just really communicating our philosophy of Christian education, how we're going to operate, our mission, and the culture we're going to set for our school. And so we had our first one last week with just Trinity Baptist members and our weekday preschool, and just had a great turnout. We look forward to communicate this message over the next 2 or 3 months and growing an incredible elementary school that will one day be a K through 12.
Sounds good. So what do you guys see at Ambassador in the community? Because you guys are in North Meck, you guys are in South Iredell. Where are most of the families coming from to your school?
Yeah, it's we've honestly been blown away. So we looked at it this year. So we were 158 students last year in our first, and now 260 this year. And there are 9 different counties represented in our community, in our student population, which is incredible. Over 30 different feeder schools.
Counties.
Yeah, which is just so cool to see. And I think speaks to the depth of need that exists, that when you have a compelling version, a vision of Christian education, families, they want it and they want to be able to come to that space. So we've been really unbelievably grateful for it. And I think as a high school, then oftentimes distance families are willing to drive forward, or once a kid gets their license, that helps smooth that out a little bit. Much harder when the kiddos are little, but we've been really grateful for the scope of reach.
And you guys also, I guess both schools, you're growing. You're starting up. So you're looking for teachers and if right? This is a great time. You're on the radio. Let's do a little plug. If anybody's interested in, in contacting you, are you looking for,
Yeah. So thankfully, folks? I mean, we're fully staffed for year 2, but as we plan going into year 3, that will be a big piece. I've joked at times. I feel like most of my job this first 2 years is just hiring. We have 42 faculty and staff members now in second year. And so to really find faith-aligned, deeply committed educators that are aligned to the vision and really able to be those men and women that are being able to disciple on a daily basis, that's a tougher task than it's not just fog the glass and now you can be in the classroom with the kids. It is for the purpose of finding cultural fits and being able to really minister effectively to kids.
Yeah, we're actually going to host our first job fair December 4th at the church, Trinity Baptist Church. Have another one on January the 8th. As Zach says, we're looking for people who are competent in their craft, but committed in their faith. And so if you want to register for one of those job fairs to come be a part of the Trinity Vision, you can go online to our website, tcamooresville.com. And under About Us, there's an employment section where you can register and be a part of those days to come and be part of a great team.
So what is it going to be a day in the life? I know you guys are starting up. So what is it going to be a day in the life at Trinity? What can parents expect? What can they look for? I know that's a vague question, but what will the experience be like?
Well, I really believe that any great organization has to have a mission you deeply believe in, and you've got to follow that mission, and you've got to be able to operate every day, make the decisions of every day through that mission. And ours is really through a Christ-centered education to be able to make Christ known to students. And so they would know him and then make him known to other people. And our culture will be real simple. I used it at Metrolina for all those years. Number one, we want to love the kids with the love of Christ, whether it's the head of school or the person who cleans the floor in the lunchroom. The second thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we instill a biblical worldview into these kids where they would make the decisions of life through the lens of God's truth and not this culture. And number 3, I really believe we want to be excellent in all we do. As I heard Melissa talk about, an excellent experience that goes beyond just, the classroom, but all aspects of what we do. Excellent in the classroom, excellent in extracurriculars, all those things. Because I think as Christians, we're called in education to be the best. We ought to have the best, the most challenging, creative, and inspiring classrooms that are out there. And fourth, our culture will be, we want to be a place you can belong. as a family, where you can be part of our school culture, be part of a community that'll love you, that'll pray for you, that'll communicate with you, and that'll partner with you in educating your children.
Very good. And how do you see the view?
Yeah, I love it. And I think that's the gift, is that in Christian education, there is a common thread. When you're building a school community rooted in faith and really the foundation of Jesus, that so many similar phrases and statements that have been said over the years. And so I love hearing your heart. For us, very similar. I think we've been continually humbled by the depth at which families want and are really craving to step into community. And so being able to foster that the school ends up being such a essential hub of the community that's built for the whole family, not just the student. But for us at the high school level, I think we talk a lot about freedom with responsibility, and how, as a dedicated standalone high school, can we help students in this really pivotal developmental phase to begin taking on adult levels of responsibility, but in a context where they can try it out, and they can make some mistakes at times, but it's done, managed with grace and love, and to be able to hopefully build them to the place where they're students that are ready for the next chapter of life. The vision statement that we talk about is launching ambassadors for Christ into all spheres of influence. And I think that space of, we as a high school, we don't see this as the end destination. We want them to launch, and that they are going to go. But this big picture view that it's not just about college prep, but that it is this sense of calling prep and understanding how God has wired and designed them. And that could be in a wide range of vocations. And it may mean college, it may not. And it may mean going on to a trade school as a next step, and that we want to support that and celebrate that. Because I think too long, many schools have kind of pivoted to the place where that's been devalued inappropriately.
All right, that sounds good. And we'll use that as a transition, and we will be right back after the break. And we're back. This is Beyond the Blueprint. We are joined by Trinity Christian Academy and Ambassador Christian in Huntersville, and Trinity's in South Iredell and Mooresville. And we're going to talk about, during the break, we were talking about an open house you guys are having. So if you want to plug that event.
Yeah, absolutely. We, for us, fall ends up being a big time where we think that's the right time for families to think and explore if they're going to pursue other options. And so November 13th is our fall open house. And so families can register online at ambassadorchristian.com. And that is, I think, a great time, especially, I say, 7th and 8th graders. And then if they were pursuing or thinking about transferring, then this is a great opportunity to begin looking at it. And so those explore ambassador events for us, times to come, and to be able to see campus, really learn about the student culture, meet our teachers, meet the coaches, see the facility, all of those things, which I think just helps start to give some context to what they might be dreaming about and get questions answered.
Absolutely. And another conversation came up during the break that I think the listeners would like to understand more is, in Christian education, the difference between missional versus covenant in the way it's taught.
Yeah, go for it. You go. Yeah, so I think it's helpful for families to know that different schools have approaches, and I think there's really pros and cons to both sides. But really, that decision of when admitting students and families, do they have to have a statement of faith themselves? Do they have to be active churchgoers? Or do they not? And different schools make decisions for a wide range of reasons. For us as a high school, we are a missional high school, meaning that a family doesn't have to have a statement of faith or go to church to be a student or family at Ambassador. The way that we phrase it in the admissions process is they need to be open to the teachings of Jesus. It's not okay in our context to be adversarial to it. You can't, stand up in the middle of Bible class and say, this is all a fairy tale. Why are you guys believing this? That would prompt some other conversations with us. And also to understand, we're going to have chapel each week. You're going to be in intentional relationships with adults, and you're going to process through faith. But that it's okay if you're not there yet, but you just have to have an openness to it, as opposed to a covenantal model where the family would have to sign a statement of faith or be active believers. But for us at the high school level, we just think that creates such an authentic faith experience, even for those families where they are coming from a church background. At the high school level, man, every kid's got to work through that process of making their faith their own. And so it kind of takes away some of that burden or imposter syndrome that may arise, and to just say, man, what questions do you have? God's big and can field those, and we're okay walking that journey with you.
Zach did a great job describing that difference. At Trinity as well, we're going to be a missional school. Two, our heart there is to present the gospel of Jesus Christ, and as he said, our families, we're not going to, when we do open house, when we interview, when we tour, we're going to be open about what we do. We don't expect you to believe everything we say, but we do expect you to know it's coming your way, and we're going to be upfront about it and not hide who we are. And from being a head of school in my previous experience for 28 years, I lived a missional school. And to be able to bring the best of the best in, as Zach mentioned, the chapel, where you can present the gospel, not just so that you want to see them accept Christ, but also too to be able to bring people in to help define their worldview. To be able to bring the best of the best in to help them be able to defend their faith and all those things. But that openness, that missional model is going to give us the ability to make sure that, as he said, that there's two things we really want a kid to walk away with as a portrait of a graduate. Two big things. Number one, they would own their faith. That it would be theirs. It wouldn't be their parents or their grandparents. And number two, that they would be able to live life with a biblical worldview. The biblical glasses to be able to see the world through those lenses.
Do you have any input into any of
it? To add to the emphasis on the missional component, we have a pretty decided connection to Young Life. We have a lot of staff members who are former Young Life staff members. And if your listeners aren't familiar with that ministry, it's a non-denominational outreach ministry, primarily to teenagers, but they have expanded into middle school. And their credo is that it's a sin to bore a kid with the gospel. Mm-hmm. So we've just taken that mindset of how do we meet kids where they are and interject into the daily history, math, science, academic rigor. How do we interject some fun and some laughter and make school a place that kids are drawn to and want to be? Make Bible a class that they're really engaged in and excited about. Make chapel something they don't hate. That is something that I think is a distinctive for us, is that we really have a dedicated focus on the student experience and our culture, so much so that one of our first employees was a director of student culture. So it's basically somebody who is in charge of making school a place they want to come to every morning.
So I was going to ask the question, what sets your school and your vision apart from the other schools in the area? But that sounds like a good start. Is there anything you want to add to that, or you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think Melissa's totally right. It is, I think, having been in Christian education for a number of years, the student experience at Ambassador is uniquely different from, almost any other school I've ever seen. And parents give that feedback that they want to come to school. And that, honestly, especially with high schoolers, that is half the battle. If a kid's excited to be there, they're engaged, they're learning, and the kind of growth and even academic outcomes that you get, that really rises. I think the other piece for us, is, pursuing excellence in academics, extracurriculars, and spiritual formation. And so last year launched 20 different sports in the first year. For us, pursuing excellence in performing arts and visual arts, and then that issue of the trades. And so in industrial arts, to be able to have classes like a kit car build class where...
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because I remember on the tour that you were showing in the room that there was that the students would build this car and then they would auction it off and the proceeds would be used to buy one for next year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought that was so cool.
Yeah. So it's got we're still in process with it. There's some last electrical and body work to do, but it's got a V8 in it and 392 horsepower replica Shelby Cobra. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Home and auto repair, culinary classes, and then additional tracks that we envision down the road with being able to build a workmanship center to where students at the high school level can experience it and to be able to see the value of working with their hands, the way that math now means different things when you're having to frame out a wall, when you are working with your hands and being able to problem solve at a totally different level. And so all under the space of how do you have kids in relationship with adults that are passionate about their faith walk and that ultimately that grows them and prepares them for the next chapter of life.
So what separates you guys, or what will separate you guys and make you unique and different?
Sure. Well, I know in Mooresville, living there for 3 years now, TCA will be the only full-time Christian school in that area. There is a Liberty Prep, which is part-time. It's a hybrid model, and my family and I looked into that, and it was waitlisted. We got waitlisted. My children were in the public school system, and they were in the Christian school system in Locust, then moved to Mooresville. Couldn't get them into a Christian school in Mooresville, so we went the public route, had a bad experience. So we were like, I don't care how far the drive is and how much the tuition is, we're going to get them a Christ-centered education. So being in Mooresville, I mean, first off, if there's no full-time Christian school, that'll be really incredible to offer that. But as far as other schools in the area outside of that, there's plenty in Statesville. We're talking about Ambassador. So thankful for all of those Christian schools. And really and truly, we're all on mission together. I mean, when they succeed, we succeed, because we look at things from the Christian standpoint of advancing the kingdom of heaven. That's what we're after. Several times in Hosea chapter 4, God talks about my people will perish because of lack of knowledge. And Colossians says that all knowledge is hidden in Christ. And we want them to come to the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. We want children to have wisdom, to come to know Jesus, to come to know the Father. And as a result of that, their entire life has changed.
Very good. And we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to ask the question is, what was the biggest challenge that you guys faced starting up? So we'll come back. Thank you. Back on Beyond the Blueprint with Trinity Christian Academy and with Ambassador Christian. And we left off when we're coming back, we're going to talk about, well, we are back now. We're going to talk about the greatest challenge that they saw with Ambassador getting the doors open. What was your greatest challenge? And then you guys are almost there. So what have you seen as your challenge? But we'll start with you guys.
Yeah, for sure. So what we would just say, I think that we called it 0 year, but when you haven't yet opened the doors, being able to try to convey the mission and vision to prospective families, even prospective employees, and realizing how big of a step of faith that is. I mean, you're totally unproven. And so really, how do you foster trust and credibility to be able to say, no, this is what we're about, what we feel like God's laid on our hearts to be able to forge. And then ultimately, when families take that step, that was a big journey for sure. And ultimately, so just humbled and grateful for those pioneering families that took that step. I mean, it's pretty incredible, especially at those critical high school years for sure.
And the numbers I know were staggering to me, just the first year commitment and then the growth in the second year. So
That's right. We opened the doors with 143 last year. We finished with 158.
Yeah.
And we've got 260 this year. So we've added a senior class, and it's a pretty full experience, and starting to feel, I wouldn't say crowded in the building, but it was a little cavernous in year one, and now it's cozier.
I remember walking through when you were doing the work. So it was a lot of changes. Yeah. So what do you guys see?
Yeah, I was just going to say, from our experience, we're literally giving birth to a new school. And obviously, as a man, never gave birth, but my wife has. And let me tell you, I know one thing is associated with it. There's a lot of labor. And, having children and not even knowing what to do with a newborn infant, oftentimes you look to those who have done it before. You go to your parents, you go, their grandparents and say, what do I do with this thing? Help. And so incredibly thankful for our headmaster and how he's taken us by the hand and walked us through that process. Because before, I feel like we were the Israelites wandering around in the desert. God gave us manna from heaven. The school came out of nowhere in our lap by the grace of God. That story, I kind of alluded to it earlier. But we still needed a Moses to lead us to the promised land. And he's sitting right here beside me. So here he is.
I think Robert's calling me old on a regular basis. No, it's been a God journey so far. We've been blessed by people who even showed up with our first one. And we've got a lot registered for our next one that are showing trust in us. And it is a total, as Zach said, it's a total dependency on the Lord Jesus, that we're trusting Him. We believe that the mission and communicating the mission and communicating our heartbeat is what the Lord would have us to do. And we just continue to trust Him. And I believe He's going to send us families. And there's no other way to get through this other than to trust Him, because it is a brand new, nobody's ever heard of.
Right. But you do have a good track record.
Well, the Lord has blessed me, Brad. I will say that. I've learned a lot through early years of a lot of mistakes. And the wisdom God gives you as you get a little older, if you listen, is that learn from those mistakes but trust Him in the process. And I believe that, as Robert quoted earlier, Isaiah 55, when you proclaim the word of the Lord, it does not come back void.
Amen. So facilities, at the break, we talked about facilities, and I want you both to talk about your facilities because they are top notch. And I'm not going to toot your horns. I'm going to let you explain what you describe your facilities.
Yeah, so the building that we're in, so 80,000 square foot facility. So it was a former church space and a little over $4 million worth of renovation to get it ready to be a school. And so it looks and feels very different, but anchored at the center of the building is a 2,100 seat auditorium, which is just an incredible space and gift to be able to utilize. So today we had NHS induction in that space, and tomorrow we have the opportunity for a military appreciation celebration at the end of the day, which we're so grateful for. The campus also has a double-sized gym on the backside of it, and then practice turf field and some additional expansion space, which is really a gift.
And your auditorium, just to try to help people understand, is larger than Blumenthal.
Yeah. Pretty incredible space to be able to be in, for sure. So, really grateful for it. And I think it has helped cast the vision. I think that's part of it. We kind of said in processing through that question of what are those biggest challenges, that issue of, how do you create a space that conveys the mission and vision and to be able to get there? And so we're really grateful to be able to have, and to be in that space that we are.
Very good.
We're blessed to be in the old historic Mount Morn location. And that is an amazing building. The bone structure of that building is unbelievable. I really hope that none of my former Metrolina teachers, elementary teachers, are listening, because these are the largest elementary rooms I have seen touring Christian schools all over the Southeast.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I think they're around 1,000 square feet, plus or minus.
The things we're going to be able to do in there to capture, as Melissa said earlier, fun, creative learning, all kinds of different interactive experiences we're going to be able to provide to kids. And we're in the process of finalizing the first phase of opening, and we'll remodel as we go, because it's packed full of potential growth down the road for, I would say, 800-900 students at some point stage in that facility.
So amazing vision. And I know you both are going to pull off everything plus more. But, and we just talked about this military appreciation event. Can you explain more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were, at the end of the summer, we were approached by the Gary Sinise Foundation, who they do some incredible work supporting our veterans and wounded warriors. And one of the programs that they have is called Soaring Valor. It was actually discussed on the front page of the Charlotte Observer a couple days ago, but it was an opportunity for World War II veterans, which there's so few of them still remaining, but to be able to travel and to see the National World War II Museum in New Orleans. Well, part of the initiative that the Gary Sinise Foundation loves to have is having students, high school students, travel alongside so that they can see and hear the stories of those veterans. And so we got to be the partner school to travel with them. So 18 of our students went, and the World War II veterans were 98 to 105 years old. And I mean, truly to hear the stories from our students as they came back from it was just remarkable. And American Airlines did a great job of, I mean, they chartered a flight down there, full military reception for the plane when it landed in New Orleans. But tomorrow we'll be able to have 2 additional veterans World War II veterans on campus with us, which will just be an unbelievable treat.
I was going to say that's an amazing experience.
Truly once in a lifetime.
Really is.
Cannot happen again.
Right.
Yeah,
that is such an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And we'd love to fill that auditorium. We're hoping that members of the community, we've tried to let all the local VFWs and armories know that what we're doing. And we hope that a lot of our servicemen in the community and even just people who just want to appreciate the military will just come and join us and hear about this World War II experience. And we got a lot of fun things planned.
That sounds good. And so what can we look for as far as, I want to mention this now that we're in another segment. You both mentioned job fairs and open houses. So let's repeat that information one more time for everyone. Trinity Christian, when is your next open house, one for the people interested in seeing if this is the right fit for their family, and 2 job fairs?
November 6th, our next open house, next Thursday night at 7:00, Trinity Baptist Church. And then our first job fair is December 4th at Trinity Baptist as well. And January 8th, our second one at Trinity Baptist.
And is there somewhere that folks can go to find this information if they didn't write it down, if they were driving in the car?
Yes, sir. Go to our website, tcamooresville.com, and you can register to attend open house, or you can register for a job fair if you're interested in joining our team.
Okay. tcamooresville.com.
.com.
Okay. So Ambassador.
Yeah, so the next open house is November 13th, and families can register for that online. Our job postings will go up probably end of February for year 3 for us, so for fall of 26. But I would say applications are open. We'll have a handful of students that will end up coming in actually as mid-year transfers, so they can apply online for that as students, and then the application's up for August 26 already as well.
Okay, and one thing we touched on before, and I wanted to be sure that people understand about the opportunity scholarships. We haven't talked about that, and we really should have probably opened up with opportunity scholarships, because Christian education is a private education, but the opportunity scholarships are available to residents of North Carolina, correct?
Yeah. And
you guys explain that. This is your area.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly, I mean, just so grateful to the state. I mean, what has happened and just what was passed. So there's currently, 4 different tiers, but really unlimited based on family income level to be able to participate in the Opportunity Scholarship. I just actually checked their website yesterday. It's open still for the 25-26 school year. So even if a family was in a position where they wanted to make a different educational decision for spring of 26, they can, and they can still receive state funds to be able to help with tuition for second semester. And so that application is active. If a family is pursuing admission in August of 26, that application for that budgetary cycle will open on February 2nd. But if you just go to the state's website, North Carolina Opportunity Scholarship Fund, that application is there. And I will just say, and I've encouraged our families, it's one of the best things that the state bureaucracy has done, because the application takes about 10 minutes, which is staggering compared to so many other forms.
In bureaucracy, 10 minutes that's
I know. It's an oxymoron there, but they've made it so accessible for families, and so grateful for that.
Mm-hmm. It's a great opportunity for us to be able to introduce Christian education through the Opportunity Scholarship. Zach's right. It's for us, it would be that February 2nd date for the 26, 27 years. And it is very easy. It's not intimidating. There's not even a lot required other than just answering a few questions. And and they'll know the answer to these, whether they've got it or not, which that answer is most likely yes, right. But they'll know it in April if they get in. But the key priority for North Carolina, because you never know when the budget's going to change. Get in the pool February 2nd.
Get in when it opens.
That's right.
That's right. Sign up the day it opens. And we're coming up on the end of the show here, but I want to thank you guys. Ambassador Christian, that's in Huntersville, North Carolina, and Trinity Christian Academy in Mooresville, North Carolina. Sorry, I grew up in Mount Morin, so it's always Mount Morin to me. But in Mooresville, North Carolina, at the old Mount Morin School. Give you a chance. One last plug. How do they get in touch with you, Trinity?
We'll do one last plug, one last plea, though. I just want to encourage anyone who's listening on the airways, no matter where you send your children, I just want to plead with you to send them to a Christ-centered school. It doesn't matter if it's TCA. We'd love to have you at TCA. If it's not the right fit because of location or just a number of factors, check out Metrolina, check out Ambassador, check out other Christian schools. I promise you, there's no greater investment you could make. I want to close personally with the words of Jim Elliot, who said, famous missionary who gave his life for the cause of Christ. He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep in order to gain what they can never lose. The impact, giving whatever the money is that the opportunity scholarship might not cover, whatever that investment may be, I promise you, you will not regret it. Having lived that personally with my own children, it has been worth every penny and worth every minute of the drive to send those boys to a Christian school.
All right.
Oh man, thank you.
Last word.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your heart. And yeah, and it would just say for us, ambassadorchristian.com, and yeah, just as families pray through and try to be sensitive to the Spirit of what does God have for them, and that they would just be open, and maybe it is looking and exploring something different than what they've done already. But that part of why I love education is, and I've said, it changes the trajectory of a life. And I think when it becomes Christian education, ultimately then not just is it changing the trajectory of a life, but it has generational spiritual impact for the decisions that are made.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for taking time and participating. And I look forward to seeing everything you guys continue to build. That's Beyond the Blueprint, Brad Howard, and thank you to Trinity Christian and to Ambassador Christian. Thank you.